All right,
Yeah.
so this is the first stream on DailyBasketballAnalysis.com. I'm Ryan. This is Zach. You
What's up,
wanna?
guys?
And we're just going to be talking about various NBA type stuff. And cover LeBron a little bit. Cover maybe Western Conference playoffs, maybe
Yeah.
Eastern. If there's going to be any upset stuff like that, I definitely want to talk about that. So, do you want to start by talking? What do you think about LeBron? Do you think he's going to
Okay. I
stay
mean,
or?
for me, I was never of the group that thought he was going to leave in the first place. I feel like once he came back to Cleveland, he was set. So all the, he's going to LA. Maybe he'll reunite with Wade and Paul somewhere. Maybe
Wade's
he'll go to
retiring.
yeah,
He's got
maybe he'll go to the Sixers now. That's the hot thing. He's going to Philly. He's going to Philly. He's going to Philly. I just don't see him leaving Cleveland. I don't see the benefit going to the West at all. Why compete with Golden State or Houston before you get to the title? Makes no sense to me. So if you're going to stay in the East, I just don't think he can leave Cleveland, period. And I don't think he wants to. So
No, I mean, I wouldn't like. I think I did mess this up. I think I might have messed up this tweet. I really hope I didn't. No, I think we're good. Oh my god. All right. Anyways, yeah. So I don't see why he would leave. I don't think it would be very useful. I mean, they're going to get a high draft pick, and
right.
like I think that LeBron probably wants some younger players around him. It's not like Kyrie was a veteran, right? When LeBron got there.
Right.
So I mean, LeBron's won with the younger guys before. And it's not like everyone's going to be a rookie either. I mean, Kevin Love's still there. Whatever you think of Kevin Love, I used to like him. I don't know how I feel anymore.
I think everyone did.
Yeah, I think we all just sort of like was like, oh, he looks nice, and he's kind of a wimp, but he's a hard worker and stuff.
Right.
Did you ever hear the story about how he had like a mental breakdown when somebody wouldn't give him a high five?
Really?
Like in between like a free throw attempts. Yeah, he has some
Cleveland?
It was in Minnesota.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
I read that in ESPN. It was a really bizarre story.
Yeah, I've seen all the whole thing. He's got the whatever you want to call it, mental health issues, however you want to word it.
Yeah, it's not like it's not like he doesn't try to fit in with the teams. It's just that I think he's like me in high school. Honestly, it's like, please somebody find me cool. But,
right, you know what I mean? Of course. I mean, I don't know. It's you could tell LeBron likes him. You know what I mean? That's obvious by his body language. Of course not.
Just not one of the bros, that's going to go hang out on the weekends.
That's not his style. You know what I mean? No. You could tell. I think him and Westbrook. I mean, obviously, you can even see that at UCLA. They're two different types of dudes. Even Westbrook. He doesn't fit in. He's not a normal person.
I mean, you just look at the clothes. That's all you need to look at.
Of course, no, he's not a normal. I mean, Kevin Love is.
Kevin Love's just really shy. I mean,
yeah. I mean, Kevin Love as a basketball player he's completely changed his game. I mean, he had to lose 25 pounds easy when he came over. Him, LeBron, and Melo all went on that diet, and they all got too thin. I mean, Kevin Love used to be, a 25 and 20 kind of guy.
Oh, yeah. No, he averaged like 26 and 13 in one season.
Right. He was a rebounder and putback guy before he was a 3-point shooter, and now he was
also an excellent post player too. I mean, he could score all around the court. He was a good passer.
Right.
I mean, I don't see like what kind of assists he had, but I'm pretty sure he had nearly 5 a game one year.
I would say even if he's 3.5 dimes, numbers aside, he knows the game. I mean, that's obvious. He has a high basketball IQ. So
in his best season, he averaged 26.1 points, 12.5 rebounds, 4.4 assists.
Yeah.
On just 2.5 turnovers.
Yep.
He shot over 57 or 55 or 45%, 37% from three. I mean, it was an efficient season.
Right.
Like that's a good year.
I mean, everybody's talking about Kevin Love as a top 10 player in the league. I mean, that's what it was. It was like, do you like Kevin Love or Blake Griffin more? Who do you like?
Yeah.
And I was always in the Kevin Love category at the time.
I think I guess it just depends. I think you can build your team around Love more than Griffin, probably. Just because I think Love can do more. But I'm not sure anymore. Actually,
I mean, I'm a big Blake Griffin guy. I now because I think he was overrated when he came into the league when he was just a dunker, and then I think he got underrated playing with Chris Paul and DeAndre Jordan. And I mean, as a playmaker, I mean, he can do things on the court.
Oh, he's ridiculous as a passer.
Of
he's
course,
an insane passer. Nobody even realizes that. It's really interesting.
Right. He's also a ball stopper, and that's not really what you want in today's game. I mean, when he catches it, it's going up.
Yeah, he's like mellow at the 4 sometimes with it.
Right. It's going off
Kobe.
either way. The possession will end with him. No matter what he does with it, it will end with him. So,
Did you ever see him take that 3-pointer sitting down? I was just
right.
like,
yes. Oh. And that shows you, that's kind of how he is.
Yeah. I mean, so I think what we're seeing, especially with like Love and stuff like that, is that Bosh was really underappreciated back when LeBron was around. Bosh is better than all of these guys, and it's because nobody really realized how sneakily good Bosh was. Bosh was a decent defender, and he didn't really need to rebound. They didn't really ask him to do that. And Bosh was the only one out of all, seems like all the LeBron sort of sidekicks, or not really sidekicks because Wade did it, but I mean, let's say third option.
Yeah, right.
Let's say out of all the LeBron third options, out of a lot of LeBron's teammates, Chris Bosh was probably the one that had the most success individually. I mean, he led that Toronto team where his second best player was Andrea Bargnani.
Right.
And he led that team to the playoffs. I mean,
he's if he kept playing, he was a Hall of Famer, whether he won those rings or not. I think
he's a Hall of Famer.
Think about it like that.
Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer already. He'll get in there.
When he went down to that 16 and a half and 8, that's just stats. If you watch him, he could have had, he could have been 22.
Yeah, he went right back up to 21 and 7 after the 16 and 6. Yeah.
Right, of course. He's kind of, I don't know. On that Miami team, he was huge, especially with the help D, because that's kind of the way they played. LeBron would kind of roam, and they needed that help defender, and that's what Cleveland doesn't have. You see, when somebody gets beat off the dribble for them, they have no help D.
Bosh was insane with the trapping, too. I mean, he was so long and quick, and so you could not do the pick and roll with his man ever. And then you had, and everyone hates Joel Anthony and stuff, but I'll give him a little bit of credit here. You have Joel Anthony. It's hard to go against him too on the pick and roll because he can do a chase down block. So the Heat had two guys. One, if you try to pick and roll, you get trapped. The other side, you get blocked. So it was a really good defensive setup that they had, and I think people didn't give Bosh or Joel Anthony enough credit on that.
Right. I mean, they brought in Birdman. Birdman was huge.
Yeah, Birdman was basically a better version of Joel Anthony at that point.
Right. I mean, Birdman could finish too. I mean, he wasn't great, but he could finish around the rim.
He's got the catfish ball stuff too.
I don't even want to talk about that.
I'm sorry, that was kind of funny.
Right, that's next level. That's next level.
Oh man, I see the last stream I did last week. I somehow got onto the topic of Delonte West and like LeBron mom.
I was actually gonna say something about Delonte West just based on the game last night. Everybody's talking about DiVincenzo now. That's kind of who he reminds me of. A little bit of a Delonte. DiVincenzo from Villanova, off the bench. He had 31. I think people were kind of shocked, out of nowhere guy off the bench, but he's their third leading scorer anyway. I think he might come out now just because when you get that publicity, this is the time to make the move. But he's kind of like a Delonte West. He looks like Delonte West too.
Really? He's got all the tattoos and he just looks like he's about to go homeless. Well,
this guy's white, but
Delonte West was white too.
Isn't he mixed?
If he was, it was very slim.
Yeah, but Delonte West had that like Mike Bibby skin tone.
Yeah, but Mike Bibby was fairly white.
Yeah, this guy's like he's Italian, so he's got red hair, but he's got the buzz cut real short, just like and he looks like that kind of guy. I don't know. I don't know if he'll come out or not.
All of a sudden, I just started thinking of the white mamba when you said red.
Yeah.
Okay, I could go off topic for ages about this stuff. I just want to talk a little bit about the Western Conference playoffs. I can read out the teams at the bottom right now. We can maybe talk about who we think is going to make it.
I think it's funny because I actually, before we did this, I was looking through some stuff on YouTube, and I saw a stream you had done where you had kind of ridden the Nuggets off.
So I still do write them off. Unfortunately,
they're one out. New Orleans is struggling. And I think the Nuggets are going to make it. So
you think they can sneak in, really?
Yeah, they're one out, and I think they're going to beat Indiana tonight in Denver, and they'll be a half out. So I think New Orleans has kind of ridden the Anthony Davis train as far as they can take it right now, and he's tired. I mean, on the court he's tired.
Alexi Ajinça is also out, so their season's over for sure. I mean, that's a shame.
At least they got Diallo. They always have those kind of guys.
I looked at the stat. I looked at the box score one day, and there was a Emeka Okafor, and I was like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, where'd you come from? Haven't played in 4 years.
Did you take a look up? Who was the guy that I saw randomly in a box score the other day? I can't even remember who it was. It was some guy that just got signed. It was a really old timey sort of guy. Oh, I remember who it was. It was because the reason I remembered it was because it brought me back to the Brooklyn trade with Boston, but
Boston.
Marshawn Brooks is back in the league.
Yes, Marshawn Brooks is on.
And he's like dominating too. He scored like a bunch of points.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's 20 especially for people playing fantasy. Like it's getting to the point at the end of the year where you know what I mean. Everyone's sitting out because they're hurt, and these guys are getting a look. And in Memphis, their whole team is G League players. So
pretty much
that's what I loved Marshawn Brooks at Providence. I mean, I thought he was going to be good. First round pick.
I mean, he had a good rookie year too. It was really weird.
He can, but those type of guys, he's like a Jordan Crawford. When they get into the league, they can score. No matter what they do, they can give you 12, 15 a night. It's on a poor percentage. They don't defend. They don't distribute. You know what I mean? And there's no.
So like Johnny Flynn too.
Yeah, you have to be really good, really really good at scoring to be able to have that role and not do anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like you have to be like Nick Young. Nick Young's pretty good with that role.
Right, and he's on a team now where he can just shoot the three, but he can't. You know what I mean? But even like the elite guys like Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams better pass than any of those guys, but Jamal Crawford can just flat out score. So you have to be able to have it. You better be really good if you don't play a lick of D.
You also have to be. I mean, one of Jamal Crawford's issues is the efficiency, but he can also pass. I mean, he can also sort of come in and lead your offense in a way, and that's something that's very valuable as well.
Yeah. He ran that backup point. I mean, in Atlanta, all that stuff back in the day. When he did it even on the Clippers for a while. So
yeah, I mean, it seems like he's sort of trying to do it nowadays, but he also has a nasty crossover. I mean, that thing. But I mean, Lou Williams has sort of done that his whole career as well.
Right, and Lou Williams is the best out of all those guys in terms of just pure overall ability because he can really run the point. I mean, Lou
Williams is a really nice scorer.
Of course.
But he seems like how do you lead your team in scoring as the sixth man? That's a really weird thing.
Well, you also got to play about 33 minutes. So.
Yeah, he's playing starter minutes.
Right. But that's the caveat.
I feel like if I were a team, I wanted like my guy to win the sixth man of the year, I bet like they could do this with LeBron, where like 1 minute into the game you bring him in every game.
Right.
And I mean, he hasn't started any games, right? You can still play in the normal amount of minutes. And
I mean, you remember when Ginobili did it. I mean, he was playing 32, 33 minutes. You can't do it playing 20.
Didn't Ginobili win it like nearly not even qualifying?
Yeah, because he's, just the same thing with the same thing with Crawford a couple years ago. Eric Gordon, they get forced to start a certain amount of games when guys get hurt. So I think it's 50%.
I think Ginobili so Ginobili won it in 2007, 2008. And in that season, he started 23 games. Yeah. Lou Williams has started 19 this season. I mean, Eric Gordon started a few last year, I thought.
Yeah, he did.
And he won last year. So
and that's always going to happen. They always have to start.
Yeah, I mean, he only started 15. So this year he started 30 and he scored 18.3 points per game.
Yeah.
Like, wow. I mean, if Lou Williams wasn't doing so good, that's like
of course.
That's interesting. But it does seem like there are some like times where it's like,
back in the day, that's not really what the award was. You used to come up. I mean, even when Lou Williams won in Atlanta, which is probably like 2007 maybe or something. I mean, he was coming off the bench, but he was playing 25 minutes. Now these guys are playing 32, 33, 34 minutes. That's not a backup.
No.
That's not a reserve. It's just not. So
I mean, so if you look back to the days of like Kevin McHale, for example, because he's like the most well-known, like, I mean, even when Kevin McHale was winning it, he was playing, so he played 28 minutes in 1 year. He won it and he put up 14 points. Right. He played 31 minutes the next season. I mean, he eventually became a starter after that.
Right.
But he was, I mean, it's not like he was being a starter just off the bench. I mean, he wasn't playing a ton of minutes. Even when Harden won it, Harden was only playing like 30, 31 minutes. And they didn't use it, him in a sort of a negative way. They used him because, when you have Westbrook and Durant providing average defense, you put Robertson in there. And then you have Harden come in and, lead the second unit.
Harden was that
actually wasn't Robertson. It was Cephalosha at the time, I believe.
Yeah.
That was Cephalosha. Harden was coming off the bench at the time. He won Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah, he was that secondary playmaker, but also gets you 13. He was like a 13, 5-5 kind of.
Yeah, so I think in his main season there, he put up 16, 4, and 3.5. I'm really like photographic with this stuff. It's really bad. That's why I was like, all right, I may as well put this to use and open up a website for this. But it was nearly 17 a game, 4.1 rebounds, and 3.7 assists.
No, that's another thing with fantasy when people say, oh, how's so-and-so doing? You could tell them, how's Jokic doing? Like, you could tell them, like, 17-5, 10-5, 5-2 kind of thing. 1.3 triples. Like, how do you know that? Well, I know that because I look at it every day.
I study statistics. I used to do that instead of paying attention in class.
There you go.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jokic, back on the Denver topic.
Yeah, we got a little sidetracked. So Denver is interesting. They need a scorer. I mean, like Gary Harris is a nice 3-point shooter. And Jamal Murray looks like he's developing. He's not there yet, though. And I think the problem I have, and this is probably what I brought up in the stream that you watched, which is they just don't have that go-to guy, and I don't think Jokic is that guy.
Okay.
I think Jokic is a good second best player on a team that's. I think you put like a star guard with Jokic. I think that's a really good team.
Okay. I think
somebody like a DeMar DeRozan, honestly.
Okay. Well, you are talking about somebody who has a Nikola Jokic T-shirt in their closet right now. So
I love Jokic.
I'm a little biased, but I think Jokic. I agree. I don't think your go-to player actually should ever be a big in today's NBA.
Exactly. But that's mainly what it is.
Anthony Davis is good enough to be your go-to player, but without him being a guard, you have to get him the ball as opposed to him having the ball, and it makes it so much more difficult. But I think with Jokic's passing and his ability, I mean, he's basically a guard playing center in a way. So it's Millsap is their issue. Millsap came back. It changed everything. Their record is poor since he came back. I don't even think he should have come back, but they maxed him, and now they're locked in for $120 million over the next 115 or something over the next 4. So what are they going to do? Because he's 32, he's on the downside of his career, and now they don't have cap space, and Millsap doesn't fit.
So for me, and this is something that you'll almost never hear me say, which is that I think Russell Westbrook could win a championship, but I think Jokic would be the absolute number one perfect piece with Westbrook.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to say because
I think you could actually see Westbrook playing off the ball and cutting and getting so many points.
I think Westbrook could do a lot of things if he was willing to do it. It's just, is he willing to do it? I don't know that answer. I don't think we're ever going to find out because now he's locked in pretty much. He's going to be locked into OKC and being the man for the rest of his career.
I just think that they'd be such a good fit if Westbrook would play the correct way. That for Jokic to be able to get the ball to him. I mean, that would be such Jokic with a guard like that would be so dynamic. I mean,
you see what he does with the dribble handoff, even just with Harris and Murray, and obviously they're not at the level of a Westbrook. But I mean, everyone said, what do you do with Westbrook? You surround him with a really versatile big and some shooters, and how do you stop them? And that's pretty much what Denver has, minus the Westbrook role.
Hey, you remember that trade where they could have had Donovan Mitchell to pair with Jokic? Remember that one?
Yes.
I like Trey Lyles. He's been okay over there. But remember Donovan Mitchell trade where that would have been the perfect piece? I don't know what made them think that they needed a power forward? Again, it's nothing against Lyles. Lyles has been a good player this year. But I don't understand why they thought that was what they needed.
I think they thought they didn't need a 2-guard, which is true. I mean, Mitchell, if they drafted Mitchell, he wouldn't be playing much. You wouldn't have seen this. I mean, he would have been playing as they have Will Barton off the bench, and then you have Harrison Murray starting. Basically, but all 3 of them are basically 2 guards. So I don't think Mitchell necessarily would have fit. I just think it looks so bad for them now because of what he's doing. I mean, not as a dig on him, but there was not a path to minutes there. It's just
that's true. And I guess he's really overplayed his draft status. It's not like they thought that they were going to get an improvement over what they had.
Of course.
Which is probably something I should at least give them a little bit of credit for.
Yeah, I mean, I like Trey Lyles. I think he played very well for them when Millsap was out, getting more minutes. But now they're kind of, like I said, Millsap is the issue. I mean, when they went on the run they went on, it was because they were playing Lyles off the bench, and Wilson Chandler was actually playing the 4. And I think Wilson Chandler sucks, but he fits that role. He fits that role of a guy that can play 30 minutes, just get a few shots, play some D, get them 8 boards, but he spaces the floor. You can't have Jokic and another guy clogging the floor, and that's what Millsap does. He just clogs in there.
So if you had asked me who would be the longest tenured player from the Carmelo Anthony trade, I don't think Wilson Chandler would have been the guy I would have said. And yet here we are.
Yep.
I mean, he's had so much potential for so long, and I'm starting to wonder maybe he didn't. because he just hasn't improved.
Nope.
Like, he's not an awful player, but he's not all that good.
Nope. He was a better scorer a few years ago, but now he's kind of just.
That was a really interesting Knicks team to watch before Carmelo got there, when it was just Stoudemire and a bunch of shooters around him.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously just Carmelo got there, and then Stoudemire did what we all expected him to do, which was get injured a bunch of times.
Right,
and
100%.
Yeah,
and that's why his career is what it is.
I think people blame D'Antoni for that. Wasn't Stoudemire weird with his landing? Like when he landed on his dunks and stuff. I seem to remember him being a little bit bizarre with his landing.
I don't think you can blame anybody for that.
So you can blame Derrick Rose for the way Derrick Rose ran. And I saw a video, and I don't remember who put this out. I'll have to link it at some point. But somebody talked about the way certain players run and how it has an effect on their health. And I think, for example, like if you run on your heels, I believe, then it really negatively affects your health long term. If you run on like the fronts of your feet, it is actually really good on your legs and knees long term. And so LeBron is famous for running on his basically the front of his feet. Dwayne Wade was one of the ones who ran on the jumped from his heels or landed on his heels. Same with Derrick Rose. Westbrook has a habit of doing it too. Westbrook's had some injury issues. So it's kind of interesting. I mean, there is something to the guys being injury prone. It's not necessarily that their bodies are injury prone, but the way they play, and you can especially see this with Rose, I mean, everyone says, well, what if he didn't get injured then? Well, I'd like to contend that it might have happened inevitably based on the way that he plays.
Yeah.
And it's really a shame to think about, because you really want to think about what if with Derrick Rose. But
I was never in the Derrick Rose camp, I guess the same way that MVP he won, outstanding year.
Oh, he deserved it. Yeah,
he put the team on his back. Now, of course, LeBron could have gotten it, and LeBron probably should have 4 more MVPs than he has, but that's a separate topic. At least one. Maybe. I mean, but anyway, Rose was always going to be, to me, limited in terms of taking it from being a great player to, a top 3 player in the league, because he can't shoot. And he was never going to be able to shoot. So eventually that athleticism is going to go down, and you have to develop a jumper. I mean, even LeBron developed the jump. You have to develop the jumper. If you don't develop the jumper, Westbrook is going to have that same problem, although he's a freak.
Westbrook jumps too high. They both him and Rose jump too high, and that's why they can't shoot.
Way too high. And it's Rose Rose couldn't shoot ever. So, I mean, Westbrook just takes bad shots.
Westbrook is not but he's not really a great shooter either.
No.
No,
I mean, the guy he was taking like 7 threes a game last year, shooting, whatever. I think he shot 32, something like that from 3 last year. But this year, throughout the year, he's realized, stop shooting threes.
No, he's still. I mean, he's taking less, but
I think he's down to like 4 a game, which is almost 50% less.
That's 4 too many.
Yeah, of course. I mean, when you're shooting 20%.
However many he takes is that many too many.
Right, and they're all, and it's a pull-up 3. He's not a catch and shoot guy. So
his free throw percentage is also very. I mean, he's always been a decent free throw shooter. That's very down this year.
I think he shot 82 last year, and he's down 10%, something like that. It makes no sense either. That's why his scoring's down.
He's also up in minutes. This is actually the most minutes he's ever played in a season per game. I mean, yeah, that's actually kind of interesting, because he did what he did last year in like not even 35 minutes per game, which is actually kind of nuts. If you
I think it's funny that everybody thinks that last year, he's an MVP, he's the best. Now he's the best player in the league. Just those kind of things you hear, and actually, he's not. He wasn't any better last year than he is this year. He really isn't. It's 1 board, 1 dime. It's just the fact that he was playing alone in people's eyes, but he chose to play alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
he chose to play alone.
Also, a triple-double in itself is like an arbitrary number. So
right.
I saw a video on that, and I was like, yeah, this is what I've been saying for a while. It's why is 10 so important? Why not 9? Why don't you call it triple double like 25, 7, and 14? It's just because once they decided, double is 10 and 10. It's just what it is. But LeBron's a 27, 8 and 8 guy for his career basically, and now he's basically over 9 dimes with close to 9 boards. I mean, that's basically a triple double every night. He hasn't like regressed at all. James Harden though is having an insane year. I mean, so actually, what was his name? Who was the guy who scored 46 points on 18 shots recently? Was that I can't remember who did that. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I still, to this day, I think Harden before that had probably the greatest game in terms of efficiency I'd ever seen. I think he put up There was one game where he had 18 shots and he scored 45 points. And I was like, that's like the gold standard.
Yeah, I mean, Harden's an interesting guy to talk about. I mean, he's single-handedly changed the way that they officiate the game. So what
the
you
rip
notice
rule,
is
the one where you can't.
People say, Harden sucks in the playoffs, and that is true in terms of sucks compared to what he has done in the regular season recently. But they officiate him different in the playoffs. I mean, it was obvious. You watch that Spurs series; he's not getting those calls. If he doesn't get those calls, he's not going to play the same way. With the way they call the game now, you can't defend him. If you give him the space, he's going to knock it down. And if you reach your hand in there, he's going to rip through it. It's so. And I'm a big Rockets guy because of Chris Paul, but it's the way Harden plays is so gimmicky, and I don't like it because his skill set is pretty much as high as anybody in the league but LeBron. And there's nothing he can't do on the court offensively. He's a hell of a shooter.
His turnovers are also extremely down this year too, which is really nice.
Nice, probably Chris Paul effect, really, but which again, people don't talk enough about what Paul's done for Harden. You know what I mean? It's just like it's an afterthought in a way, which I think Paul's okay with because that's not why he came there. He came there to win. But you take Chris Paul off this team, they're no threat. They may lose in the first round.
Yeah, I mean, so Chris Paul also offers the defense in a way that Harden was just not really and Chris Paul's made Harden a better defender almost. Like if you put, so I think in a way people don't realize how average DeMar DeRozan was as a defender because Lowry's just that good at it. So it's actually kind of interesting. And, DeRozan seems to have improved this year and he's improved his shooting and stuff, but
definitely from three. Yeah.
Yeah. But his defense has also gotten slightly better as well. And, I think that's, eventually I think as Lowry sort of declined, he sort of had to pick up a bigger role. But I think Chris Paul by default has sort of made James Harden a little bit better on defense just because Chris Paul is so good that sometimes when you have that kind of player, it just rubs off on, the other guys. And
yeah, it definitely can be, all that kind of stuff can be infectious. I don't think that's really debatable. And I think guys like DeRozan, I think a guy with DeRozan's athleticism and his build is similar to a guy like Andrew Wiggins. There's no reason these guys aren't very good defenders. It's effort. You know what I mean?
Wiggins for sure. Yeah. Wiggins is, that's a really disappointing one.
Yeah.
I actually was thinking about writing an article or making a video or something about this, but are like draft rookies getting worse? Because, you don't see the same numbers that you used to. I mean, I still remember guys in the 90s putting up like insane rookie seasons. And it's just, are rookies getting worse? Are they not getting playing time or?
Well, they're all one and dones now. It's just not the same.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. When you didn't have the one and done thing, you would have guys go to college for a few years, and then you'd have some people go to the NBA right away.
I think people forget so quickly how young the guys are. It's not fair to expect a guy to come in at 18 for some of them, if not just turn 19, and be, a mid-level to a high-level NBA player. It just doesn't happen. There's only a few that can do it. It takes time. I mean, Devin Booker would still be in college. So, what does that say? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, he just looked super young. I mean, it was actually just like you could tell he was like he didn't even know how to shave yet. I mean,
yeah, of course, yeah.
Like there's no reason for him to learn. He doesn't have any facial hair yet.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's just it's kind of crazy.
No, the rookies are getting worse. I mean, Carter Williams won Rookie of the Year. I mean, what does that tell? I said Carter Williams won Rookie of the Year. So what does that tell you?
Those were the days. Oh my goodness. My friend and I used to argue about him because my friend would defend him, and I'm like, this guy sucks, dude. Like
he's so bad. He
sucks. Like you look at his numbers, all you need is this is why being even remotely interested in analytics can help you with like things because it's so obvious that the guy's awful. It's so obvious that his efficiency is just terrible.
Oh, he
can't shoot the ball. He turns it over.
He's just not a good basketball player.
No, he's he's awful. And
you only have to watch. It's looking in the box score after the game that would confuse people.
Not me though.
That Philly team was. I mean, they intentionally were signing guys that wouldn't even be good enough to start in the D League.
He's like Tyreek Evans, but like twice as bad. Like Tyreek Evans at least has had a
We
decent
say
career
that's
after like
that's a
a
pretty
bad
big
year.
insult to Tyreek Evans. I
No,
think
like Tyreek Evans has actually turned
healthy.
in
He's
a pretty
pretty good.
decent career. But like they both have that problem with it, or at least they did. Tyreek Evans learned how to shoot too. Tyreek Evans originally couldn't shoot. Yeah.
Carter Williams learned how to shoot, but Tyreek Evans was also so much better with the ball and better around the rim because he's more physical.
Yeah. I still
Carter
remember
Williams,
that game against the Heat where Carter Williams in like his first game ever went off and everyone was like, this guy's gonna be awesome. And then they so I covered the Nets, I believe. Now I don't know if I was covering them yet. No, not yet. But I think maybe they were going against the Heat or something. And they had the Sixers had him come out with like a microphone. It's like, I know you guys are being impatient, but just trust the process. And then like Carter Williams gets traded later in that season. I'm just like, oh my God. I do trust the process now. You know, I didn't before, but now that you're gone, I do.
Yeah, I mean, Carter Williams is just he shouldn't be in the league, and he won't be.
Like he's
a third point guard, which is not a position.
How did he get money from the Hornets? I guess they only signed him for 1 year, which is whatever. Yeah. But he also got playing time, which is even worse than getting money.
Right.
So
Carter Williams it's very difficult. First of all, it's very difficult to be a 6'7", 6'8" point guard. It just is.
Lonzo, has problems with his shooting too, but Lonzo, unlike Carter Williams, is not garbage. Lonzo's a pretty good basketball player, so
it's a totally different skill set.
Oh yeah,
it's a totally
Carter Williams is one of those guys. Like honestly, he's like so I worry about Dennis Smith Jr. in the same way because I worry that he's going to fall victim to low shooting percentage and just becoming a volume scorer. And I don't think he's like Carter Williams level, but
I think it depends on what they do around him. But I mean, from everything you read, and I mean now. Dennis Smith was a huge recruit, and then he tore his ACL. He tore his ACL before his senior year, and then at NC State, he actually, he tested even higher on his vertical. It actually went up after he tore his ACL. I mean, the guy's just a crazy athlete, but everything you read, he puts in the time. So if he learns how to shoot the ball, if he learns how to shoot the ball, I mean, the dude's going to be a problem. Like he's got that.
He's got the Kobe mentality. You
know what I mean. If he learns how to shoot the ball, he kind of reminds me in a way of like a Kemba Walker. It's a different style. I think maybe a little more in the Damian Lillard mold than Kemba Walker.
So I take Damian Lillard over Kemba just because.
Oh yeah, of course.
Damian has that fire in him too. He's a team leader. I mean, he has that fire.
I think Kemba's a hell of a player. He's in a bad spot.
Yeah. So I just don't understand how. Well, I mean, their coach, I forget the guy's name off the top of my head. Why do I forget his name? But
for the Hornets?
Yeah.
Steve Clifford?
He's everyone got used to him sort of overproducing with what he had there. And now it's just, it sucks for them. I mean, everyone talks,
Kemba he'll be gone in the offseason.
It's kind of interesting. People talk about all these like teams that have been hapless for so long. You look at the Hornets, I mean, their history is pretty sad. So it's, there's just not a lot of success in their history. They had a few good runs, early on in like the Baron Davis.
When they were the Bobcats.
When they were the Bobcats, they were a goof. I mean, that was just,
I like that one. They had one Bobcats team I really liked when they had Steven Jackson with Gerald Wallace.
They had Jason Richardson in that.
Mm-hmm. That team they had a couple, they made the playoffs and everything.
Did they? I know that they made it very few times.
They made it. I don't remember what year it was, but they made it.
I'm looking right now. It's so it looks like maybe it was 2010, 2011. No, it was they must have traded for him mid-season. Yeah, so they lost in the first round 4-0, but they did make it. So Steven Jackson, Gerald Wallace, Raymond Felton was still there.
Yeah.
For some reason, Raymond Felton was in my dream last night, and he was an elite shooter. That was a really weird dream. Okay.
I like Raymond Felton.
I like Raymond Felton too. He was always forgotten in that draft, but he was actually pretty decent.
Yeah, he had some good.
I take him over. Yeah, I take him over maybe Darren Williams just based on personality. It seems like.
Yeah, I mean, well, Darren Williams was a star, but yes. I mean, for 4 or 5 years, but then the knees and all. Once he went to Brooklyn, it was all over. That first year though, wasn't even the year. The half year basically he had in Brooklyn. I think he had at least one, if not two, 50-point games. I mean,
oh my God.
Because the debate was always Darren Williams or Chris Paul. I mean, that was the debate.
There was an actual debate there too for a while
when he was in Utah. Yeah, I mean, he was a much better athlete than Paul. He was a high flyer early in his career.
Oh yeah, and that was because everyone criticized them for taking him instead of Paul. And then there was actually debate there for a while. Now Paul's sort of like LeBron in that, the way he plays the game just translates as he gets older anyways.
Of course. And Paul always be pushed to the side because he's not flashy. But
he doesn't need to be. Yeah.
Prime Chris Paul, if you get the best game you can get out of Chris Paul, gives you more on the court than a prime game from Steph Curry even now. Because Curry's so limited. Even in his greatness, to me, he's limited. I mean, it's a different style, but Curry's a defensive liability. To me,
really, I don't know. I don't know if he's a defensive liability. He's not like an elite defender, but it's not like putting Isaiah Thomas out there.
I don't think it's when I say defensive liability, I don't think it's an effort issue. I actually do think he tries. He just is so small a frame, and he's pretty unathletic in terms of his lateral quickness. Meaning when they play, they want to. If you watch in the finals, I mean, what did Cleveland do? They ran the LeBron-Kyrie pick and roll over and over and over, and it wasn't just to isolate LeBron on Curry; it was to get Kyrie on Curry because they're going to put Thompson on him.
I mean, but again, Curry's led the league in steals. I mean, he's not the worst.
Yeah, but James Harden get like?
But James Harden's not the worst defender either when he tries. Steals is, I mean.
Steals are an interesting stat because you don't even.
But Isaiah Thomas has never led the league in steals.
Well, Isaiah Thomas is. I don't think we'll be talking about Isaiah Thomas in a couple of years. So.
Probably not. But I mean, you ever see Damian Lillard? Oh my God, Isaiah Thomas is averaging 0.5 steals.
Yeah,
and he's like really short too. Like I remember Muggsy Bogues used to be the best pickpocket in the entire league because he was so short.
Damian Lillard's a bad defender too.
Damian Lillard's really a bad defender. Like he's actually a bad defender. I think Steph Curry gets a little bit more crap than he should on that.
Him and McCollum are both really bad defenders.
Yeah, I mean they've gotten better this year though. I think. I mean, according to your article, they've gotten better. It seems
their D is way better. Yeah. Their D is way better. I mean, I think they're more engaged. I just think a guy like Lillard, he puts in so much effort on the offensive end. They just can't give it on the defensive end. Not to that extent. And
McCollum's just limited physically. So kind of in the same way Gordon Hayward might be a little bit. They're both like small school guys that are, good scorers and crafty, but sort of limited.
Hayward at, 6'8", 6'9", should at least be able to play better D than he does, whereas McCollum's 6'3" and can barely dunk. So it's a little different than, you know what I mean? And Hayward is a liability. So
yes, exactly. I mean they have the Nurk there. The Nurk is strong.
I like Nurkic.
They have a bunch of guys that are pretty good defenders. They're like Ed Davis has always been a good defender.
They play good team D, even if it's not the best individual D. But they don't have a backline rim protector to just when guys blow by. But everyone helps, and I think that's the
Nurkic is a little bit to a certain extent, but Nurkic also doesn't get a ton of minutes. Aminu, the fact that Aminu learned how to shoot the three is vital because he's always been a really good lockdown defender. He just was never able to shoot. And everyone's sort of worried he'd just end up being sort of like a Michael Kidd-Gilchrist, but he's actually learned how to shoot.
When Aminu came into the league, I remember him at Wake Forest, and he went, I don't know where he went, somewhere I think between like 7 and 11, somewhere in that range, and it's just like the guy can't shoot.
Yeah, so
and it took him obviously he didn't warrant that pick, obviously, but still he's turned into a valuable 3-and-D, probably about 6'10", 6'11" wingspan easily. So
he's a good defender.
He's a unique player for them. I mean, I still can't buy into Portland in terms of being an actual threat.
Well, I can't buy into them because of other teams mainly.
Yeah, it's like for me when and this is interesting because apparently he's about to come back. When Jimmy Butler comes back, I mean, Memphis is in the 7 right now. I assume they'll. Yeah. I mean, not Memphis, Minnesota. Sorry, is in the 7. Memphis is in the 17. When Jimmy Butler comes back, Minnesota is much better to me than Portland. I don't care about the record. I mean, I think if they still had Jimmy Butler all year, they would be in the 3 or the 4 anyway. But Minnesota is a dangerous team if they're engaged.
Yeah. So, I mean, then what that means is get rid of Andrew Wiggins, basically.
Yeah, of course. Well, they already paid him, so now they.
Did they really? How much did they give him?
126 or something. I don't know. He got like his version of a max. I don't know all the. It's not the super max like that. There's other guys eligible for, but he got. This is
a huge deal. Yeah. So it looks like he's about to get 5 years, like nearly $150 million. Why would you give him that?
Yeah.
What warrants that?
Just the fact that everybody's getting paid that now, so it's kind of the going rate. I
mean, we've seen like the Blazers are the ones that are getting held back by that stuff. I mean, Evan Turner, 4 years and $72 million. That's one they'd like to have back for sure.
Andrew Wiggins is so much better than Evan Turner.
Yeah, but neither of them are worth the money that they're being paid.
Evan Turner is so bad.
Yeah, but neither of them are worth either one of the numbers that they're getting. Is basically my point.
No, and Minnesota is, again, they get Thibodeau. They have so many athletes. There's no excuse for them not to be a top 5 defensive team, and they're not.
Well, Towns is not a good defender.
No, and people think they get sucked into the idea
because he blocks shots, but that doesn't mean he's good. Like Whiteside blocks shots. He's not
Whiteside is defender. Speaking of Whiteside,
he's gotten better.
I was going to say, I don't want to get off topic, but there is no topic now. So
he apologized. Whiteside apologized, so now it's all good.
Speaking of Whiteside, I would 100% move Whiteside if that were possible.
No.
I'm not a Whiteside guy.
You can't move him. Who's going to take him?
There's a reason. I know in his small brain he can't wrap his head around it, but there's a reason he plays 26 minutes a game, and they go to Olynyk.
He's slow. Yeah, he's slow. Olynyk's kind of quick, actually.
Whiteside is a poor defender. He can't stretch the floor. He has a terrible attitude, even on the court when he's not getting the ball. And the weird thing is, it's almost got to be related to the money, because you're talking about a dude that flopped out of the league, working out at the YMCA. But obviously, he came in, he busted his ass that first year, and it earned him, a chance in the NBA. And then he cashes in on it. I mean, he was blocking 3.5 shots that year, and he was so engaged, especially in the pick and roll and defensively and everything. He was just a beast. And now, once he's playing, and you get this contract, and just the last 2 seasons, he's he's lethargic to me.
Yeah, it's so he just doesn't. It doesn't seem like he moves around like he used to, and he's never been a passer, and that's something I've always had an issue with. Is Bam Adebayo is a really nice passer, and that's something that Bam's always looking for whatever play. I think Bam almost is a passer to a fault. Like, there's times where I think he could probably knock down a mid-ranger, but he's more worried about passing.
Very low. He has very low confidence. I mean, same thing.
Adebayo?
Adebayo, yeah. Even at Kentucky, he came, again, huge recruit, top 10 recruit.
He'll gain confidence, though. He will.
But that's why, if they could move on from Whiteside just to free up the money, they can roll with Adebayo and Olynyk for now, free up the money, and they can figure out what they need. And what they need is they need a go-to player that isn't Dragic.
I love
Dragic. He can be your second option. And I like Dragic, but they need a go-to. Imagine, to me, who's the biggest guy on the market? Obviously, is going to be Paul George, and he's not going there. No. But to me, Kawhi Leonard is gone.
I'd feel better maybe about him than anybody, just because he could come in and play the defense that the Heat love to play.
Yep.
And be better than
Kawhi Leonard. Imagine Kawhi Leonard on that roster, and you clear out some of the, the players are redundant with Tyler Johnson and Waiters and Wade and Ellington. It's too much, and I think Wade's
except for Ellington. Ellington's not really. Ellington's pretty good. Ellington's been a really good piece.
He has one skill, and that's all he comes in and does.
Yeah, but it's so useful. You need that. Let me go ahead and pull up the Miami Heat plus or minus stats, because you'll be surprised to hear who the top 3 guys are.
Yeah, I like Ellington.
Olynyk's number 1 in plus minus. I don't know if you watched my video on him, but I've been riding that to the top. Video about Olynyk.
I don't think Olynyk. Olynyk, that doesn't surprise me. All you have to do is watch them play, and you can see what Olynyk brings that actually no one else outside of Richardson in a different way brings.
So guess what Ellington's plus or minus is for this season?
It's hard to gauge on the number.
Plus 4.2.
I was gonna say 5. That's what I was gonna say. 5. So
Olynyk is that's second on the team, actually. I think either that or Winslow. I'm not sure what Winslow's is. Whiteside and Dragic are both negative, by the way.
Right, but that's also second unit guys tend to be plus if the second unit is good.
If you're Cleveland, past few years, I wouldn't say it's
because then you have a bad second unit.
Yeah, right. Darren Williams plus or minus is it's a null set. It's a number that has not been calculated yet. So
Darren Williams is just
Winslow is plus 4 actually. So that's pretty good. Winslow is actually starting to look better on offense. It's kind of interesting. He looks confident. I think that's the difference. And I've always said that, and I said that in a video that I made last summer. He just needs confidence. a lot of times he second guesses himself or overthinks it and he misses layups and stuff. This year he's become sort of a point forward. He's taken the ball up the court and he's making plays. He's driving to the basket. He's finishing strong. He's getting fouled. He's not afraid to take the ball and shoot the three. So
I mean,
it's
with Winslow, again, like this is another thing going back to college when he was at Duke. I thought he was the steal of the draft when they got him in the spot. When they got him in the spot that they got him. But what Winslow has is a very similar skill set and all that to Stanley Johnson in a different way.
Winslow's way better than Stanley Johnson. Ooh, that is a rough comparison.
See, I don't agree.
Have you seen Winslow the past month? Let me pull up his splits because he's turned a corner the last month.
He's just when I saw Winslow in college, I saw him in the mold of a small forward slasher who can learn to shoot the three at a decent percentage.
That's what
he's going to give you. He's going to give you six. He'll give you 6.5 boards. He'll be able to get the ball in transition, get it and go. He'll be an elite defender, and he just hasn't done that yet. Now, I'm
gonna have to stick up for him at this point because he's
still 21.
In March of this year, all season. I mean, he shoots the three over 40% this year on a substantial amount of attempts. So he has become sort of a 3-point shooter. In March, his numbers are 11.3 points, 6.2 rebounds, 2.4 assists in 28 minutes. He's plus 11.8 when he's on the court. Plus 11.8. He's third on the team in plus minus. He's shooting 47%, 40% from three. He needs to learn how to shoot free throws. But, I mean, he's an all-around solid player this year, and it looks like his efficiency has taken a step forward. Let's go look at Stanley Johnson, because Stanley Johnson is nowhere near that. Stanley Johnson has not literally shown zero improvement.
I don't think that Stanley Johnson's numbers are going to stack up with Winslow, but it's a totally different.
So Stanley Johnson is playing more minutes, shooting 37%, 28% from three.
Right. Stanley Johnson is what Stanley Johnson is. But what I'm saying is him and Stanley Johnson, in terms of their build, their style of play, that was the same style and the same build coming out of college. I mean, they went probably within 2 picks of each other. And it was like, which one do you like?
I like
more?
The discipline of Winslow. I don't think Stanley Johnson was disciplined enough. I liked the way Winslow plays. Winslow plays sort of like a professional. And I think he was a little bit slow on the get-go. But I think Winslow approaches the game as if like sometimes I feel like a veteran almost does. Like Winslow looks like he's like a
very deliberate guy.
He's very
deliberate in the way that he moves. Which
but
I would actually like to see a little more get it and go from him, but that's a confidence thing too.
And he's definitely been more like that lately.
When he gets a rebound, you got to get it and go.
He does,
he's an elite athlete. I mean, he's not a below the rim player in any regard, but he tends to play a lot below the rim. And again, I like Winslow. I think the ceiling is extremely high. I'm just waiting for it to. You got to see it over a full season that goes back to this team. This team is so clogged up with 10 guys that score 9.8 to 12 points. You know what I mean? Outside of Dragic, you know what I mean?
It's interesting. But so I think this March is the best I've ever seen Winslow look on offense, and it's been consistent all month. So I'd like to see him take this into the next season, or even just into the playoffs. If he can do what he's doing in March over a long period of time, I think we're gonna see him get a nice contract, and I think he'll just continue to do it. But if he can't sustain this, then obviously I think at a certain point you have to cut your losses because you can't have a guy that's a negative on offense.
He has to be able to. You got
in this day and age.
Yes, he's shooting the ball pretty well percentage wise, but I mean they back off of him considerably. So if you can prove you can hit it and they'll close out on him, then he should be able to blow by them. It's just he's got that awkward left-handed, shooting motion that almost every left-hander has.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been shooting. His three-pointer has actually become formidable this year. It's actually kind of interesting. He's shooting over 40%.
Yeah,
and it's not a small sample size anymore.
Miami plays a unique style, even the way that they play offensively and defensively. I mean, Dragic either has to be full-out transition or he has to be in the pick and roll. He's not a break you down off the dribble one-on-one type of guard. He can do it, but he can actually be pretty damn good in the pick and roll.
Yeah, he can also shoot it right in a big man's face too. That's one of the things I like.
He's got that fade away. He likes that little, which almost all European guys do.
He's a badass too. It's kind of funny.
No, I love Dragic. I love Dragic when he as far back as when he was not even pre-Phoenix days.
I mean, I remember him back in NBA 2K9. He was just this
Huge.
little guy that you could like take to the basket and stuff. It was kind of fun. But no, Winslow is shooting 40% from three, and he has 48 threes this season, which is a career high, which is not a lot. I think it's a career high.
It's not a lot.
It's not a ton. So somebody just joined, or is that you? No, that's your picture.
That's me.
Yeah, I think your camera cut off or something.
Yeah,
but anyways,
remember, I'm on my phone, so
yeah, I got you. I gotta go. I'm not feeling so great tonight though. So do you want to do this again another night this week?
Yeah, totally cool.
Probably put it off right now for
Okay, yeah, a couple things for people just to look at. Eastern Conference playoffs is set. Miami's gonna clinch. The seeding may not be set. Miami's gonna clinch, and it's gonna be Miami and then Milwaukee at the bottom. But Western Conference, Minnesota is 1.5 up on Denver. So between Minnesota, New Orleans, and Denver, I mean, they're playing for 2 spots.
It depends on if New Orleans can pick it up at the end. I trust Anthony Davis.
I mean, those three are playing for 2 spots, and if you're Houston or Golden State, to me, I don't want to play Minnesota when they get Jimmy Butler back. I would do anything I could to avoid that, and they can't because Golden State's locked into the 2. But I mean, if I'm them, I'm praying that Minnesota ends up in the 8 and Houston has to play them.
Yeah, that would. I
mean,
the Western Conference is going to be like really competitive. I mean, it's going to be even like the bottom of it. So
I agree.
Do you think Denver can sneak in, or do you think
I do? But I really like Denver. I think Denver's biggest issue is the defense is not good, and the effort it comes and goes when they're engaged and they play all out.
I really like that too. I was ashamed.
I mean, I think Denver obviously offensively is better than any of these teams we're talking about towards the bottom when they're hitting their shots and Jokic does a little dribble handoff move. And what do? You know what I mean? You stay with him on the roll. You look for the pop out, or Jamal Murray's going to the rim. They can score 130, whatever they want. It's just they're going to give up 130, and that's not a recipe to win.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how they've always been, though. It seems like with Denver over there.
Even when Denver was really good with George Karl a few years back, when they were like a 3 seed, I think they won like 55 or whatever. Whenever he won that cushion,
that was the Iguodala year, I think, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say Iguodala was the key. Because he gave them that defense. Yeah. They gave him that defense. They just don't have and Gary Harris is a very good defender. But he's the only one, and he's about 6'4". So where's your lockdown guy to switch one to Harden or Durant, whoever it is?
You don't think Wilson Chandler can lock down LeBron? No? Oh.
I don't think Wilson Chandler can lock down me.
I don't think Wilson Chandler can lock his own door. Anyways, we're gonna end on that joke right there. But hope hope whoever watched enjoyed, and we'll be doing more of these. And see you later.
You got it.